I was 11 hours into the drive when the skyline of my hometown dissolved behind me like a memory I wasn't yet ready to lose. The order had come from the top. There's a problem. One of our plants is sinking. Go. Fix it. That's how it always begins, with a small problem and a road that knows your name better than your friends do. They sent me with 2 internal auditors, Marina and Sergey, and an old report that smelled of cold, coffee, and panic. The plant sat on the edge of a provincial city. The gate was open. The guard was busy talking to no one who mattered. The director met me at the entrance. Oleg, medium height, expensive suit, a damp, soft hand that felt like a secret, overeager, too many promises. Apartments ready. Keys, schedules, dinners, a private sauna, full cooperation, and an apology for breathing. That kind of kindness is never free. It was loud. It was desperate. It was wrong. I said what I always say when people try to drown me in hospitality. Cancel it all. I'm here to work. The apartment they gave me was clean, but it had that staged emptiness. You can smell neutral walls, furniture that knew nobody's weight, air that remembered no one. Marina and Sergey took the unit downstairs. We ate, we debriefed, and we drew blood from the report. Money was bleeding out. Overspending with no receipts. Side companies that smell like shell and sound like denial. Tomorrow we start cutting, I said that morning, bit like metal. I called in the senior staff. The chief engineer, Pavel Gray at the temples, eyes that had slept badly for years. The equipment was old. The budget had been reallocated. To what? Admin renovations, he admitted, not looking at me. The chief accountant, Olga, stared like a metronome, precise, steady, terrified. Violations? Yes, but her fear had a name: Oleg. Influence grows fast in places where doors don't lock. By evening, the picture was familiar. A factory rotting from the top. A staff swollen with cousins and friends. Production limping. Warehouse records that didn't add up. A plant that had once been fed by orders now feeding a small circle of pockets. I'd seen it before. I knew how it would end. I went home with numbers boiling in my head and the taste of cheap coffee burned into my tongue. I showered. I opened a beer. I sat down. The TV flickered like a tired eyelid. The city murmured outside. I was almost asleep when I heard its soft, quick footsteps. Like a child running from one room to the next, I waited. Silence, then the footsteps again. From the bedroom to the kitchen, closer, lighter, wrong. I got up. I checked the rooms. Empty. Fridge, cabinets, doors, windows. Nothing. Get a grip, I told myself. You're exhausted. You're hearing the pipes, the walls, yourself. Then I heard the laughter, quiet, breathy, a child's giggle that didn't belong to anyone who paid rent. My skin went cold in a way that had nothing to do with the air. I turned on every light. The apartment looked offended. Hey! I called out, because sometimes a voice is the only weapon you can reload when you're not ready for anything else. Enough games. Silence. Then the footsteps again. Crossing behind me. Kitchen to living room to bedroom. As if it, whatever it was, had drawn a chalk circle and was tracing it. Faster each time. There are moments you can rationalize and moments that pull you by the throat through a door you didn't know was there. I felt that door open. I didn't like what I found behind it. I waited in the junction between rooms, kitchen, hall, living area converging into a tight little crossroads, and told myself, if anything moves, it has to pass me. It didn't. The running stopped, the laughter didn't, and then nothing. A silence with weight. A loud, sudden crack shattered the quiet from the far room. My hands moved before my mind did. I went in. The light clicked on. No one. Just a small, overturned toy car on the floor. Its wheels still turning like the echo of a heartbeat. Then I saw it on the wallpaper, above the spot where I'd been sitting earlier. A child's scrawl dug into the patterned paper. Leave. I stared at the word until the letters began to move. The beer in my hand tasted like metal. I told myself 1,000 things that weren't true. I slept badly, in pieces, while someone small kept running the same loop across the apartment, as if tracing a map only they could read. Morning. Coffee, pain behind the eyes. Work like a blade. I called a full meeting with department heads. People spoke. Wages too low. Spare parts missing. Production targets missed by design. They spoke in careful squares, avoiding the center where the truth lived. Then a young engineer at the back, Andrew, said it plainly. The director was building a new house, buying new cars, and the factory was paying. The room froze. Oleg's face went a red so dark it looked made, not born. That night I left the numbers and went looking for the other problem, the one with small feet and an odd sense of humor. I tracked down the rental agent, pushed until he squeaked, and got a number. The owner of the apartment, Margarita. Elderly. Calm. Tired of pretending. She told me her truth in a rush. There are 3 of them. Maybe 4. They don't harm. They play. They like sweets. They like fresh milk. I never saw them, but I heard them. I called them the men. I don't know why. I lived with them 20 years. They lived there before me. People say there was a children's home on that land a long time ago. Some of them died. They stayed. Don't be cruel to them. Don't be foolish. They understand more than you think. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, at my hands, at the space between the known and the unknowable. Then I bought chocolate, gingerbread cookies, and 2 liters of milk, like a man arming himself with sweetness instead of steel. I laid it all out on the kitchen table, careful, deliberate offerings. Listen, I said into the empty air, and felt ridiculous for 3 seconds. Then not at all. I don't want to fight. If you leave me in peace, I will leave you in peace. If there's something you like, put it on the small table by the stove. I'll know what to buy. Silence. The kind that tilts its head at you and listens back. I went to bed and tried not to listen. I listened anyway. A soft rustle. A pause. A longer rustle. I stood in the doorway, breath shallow, and saw it. A shape at the table, no taller than the chair back, thin as candle smoke. A small, foggy person that kept trying to decide whether it was a shadow or a child. One tiny arm reached out. It took a candy, turned its head in my direction, waved, and dissolved like breath on glass. I didn't move for a full minute. When I did, my hands were shaking. I slept at last, as if someone else had switched off the world for me. Morning brought proof. And proof is a drug. The milk had gone down. The cookies had thinned. On the small table by the stove, 3 pieces waited, like signatures. A square toffee, a cylinder of caramel, and a humped gingerbread with white sugar freckles. Message received. At the plant, the auditors tightened their net and I pulled the lines. The commercial director showed up in a suit that cost more than a forklift. I laid out the timeline, the dummy companies, the price inflation, the names on the founding papers, Oleg's sister, all in the same neat loop. His face lost color by degrees, then found it again in angry patches. He reached for my tie. Security reached for his wrists. Sometimes justice looks mundane and ugly. That day, it did. Oleg stormed in after and demanded terms. I gave them. New security. Full repayment. 2 days. No movement without eyes on them. Internal matters, I said, will remain internal. If you cooperate. He did. People resigned. Others threatened lawsuits with papers they couldn't afford to file. The roster shrank to the size it should have been all along. The chief engineer, steady hands, steady heart, took control. At home, the offerings became ritual. Milk, gingerbread, the sweetest toffees I could find. The soft soda stayed untouched. They didn't drink it, and I learned fast. On the third evening, I arrived to lights turning on by themselves. A cold beer sweating on the table, my frosted glass waiting like a welcome. My chest went tight. Fear, yes, but also something stranger, older, harder to dismiss. Recognition. I drank. I laughed once, softly, because I understood the message. We can be more than footsteps and laughter, if you can be more than fear. I set 5 gingerbreads on the plate, not 3. I didn't know why I did that, only that it felt right. Work hardened into a rhythm. Meetings, signatures, angry men, tired women, the hum of machinery quietly returning to life. At night, a different pulse, small hands moving wrappers, careful sips, a soft breathy giggle from the room beyond the doorway. I said goodnight into rooms that used to reply with echoes and now answered with silence that wasn't empty. When it was time to leave, I made the joke 3 nights in a row. Come with me, I told them, locking the door. I'll keep the milk cold, and I know where to buy the good gingerbread. No laughter, no running, just a clean, listening quiet. Departure has its own weather. The morning I drove out, the city exhaled me like smoke. The factory was stabilized. The thieves were busy pretending to be innocent. The good people had survived and would carry the weight. It would be enough, or it would be close. On the ring road, I called a friend who had a key to my apartment back home. Do me a favor, I said. Pack the fridge with beer, and buy milk, fresh, and gingerbread. The real kind. I slept hard that night. 3 hours later, I woke to soft running footsteps crossing my hallway and a small, uncontainable laugh that reached back 20 years to the kind of home no one can ever put on paper. I didn't turn on the light. I didn't need to. I ordered milk from the farm delivery I trusted and 5 gingerbreads, not 3. 5, I still don't know why. Maybe you don't need to know. If you already understand. I stood in the darkness and said it the way I should have said it the first time. Welcome. If this is home for you, it's home for me. I'll keep the milk cold. I'll find the candy you like. I'll listen when you run. And I won't ask for more than you can give. Some truths aren't told because they're too small. Some because they're too big. This one was both. It fit in the space between a footstep and a laugh. It held a factory together by accident. It followed me across a border I didn't know I'd drawn. People will tell you there's a rational explanation. Maybe there is. Pipes, drafts, stress. The mind is a haunted house long before any ghosts move in. But on my kitchen table, every time the world asks me to choose, the same 3 sweets appear: square toffee, rolled caramel, and a humped gingerbread with white sugar freckles. Unless someone has decided they like something better that week. The milk always goes down. The soda never does. And somewhere past the doorway, when the night is kind and the road outside grows quiet, I still hear them running that same little circle they traced the first night. A loop between rooms that has never once closed on me. Home isn't where you hang your coat. It's where the milk gets finished and the gingerbread disappears. And you don't have to ask by whom. This was Untold Scary Truths. If the line between folklore and fact just blurred for you, you're not alone. Like the story? Subscribe, drop a comment, and share with someone who still sleeps with the lights off. New tales every week, the kind you tell in a whisper.